Let's go over 3 ways to make colors on a web page. In a few minutes, you'll be well on your way to becoming a coding artist. The first way is to name the color that you want to use. This works a lot of the time as HTML recognizes 147 names like black, red, sea green, and navy. You can use these names to set colors in CSS like this. The second way is via RGB, which stands for red, green, blue. In CSS, you assign a value to each of them and together they create the color you want to display. The higher the value, the more prominent the color itself, red, green, or blue, is displayed. The values for each color range from 0 to 255. For example, if I were to decide to translate my background black declaration to RGB, I'd write it like so. Background RGB 000. Black actually is the absence of color, which means that there's a 0 value for red, a 0 value for green, and a 0 value for blue. If I instead wanted to create true blue, I'd set the blue number to its highest value and leave the others at 0 like this. At the other end of the spectrum, if I were to create white, I'd set all 3 colors to their max value. That is background equal to RGB 255, 255, 255. One thing to note here, you shouldn't, as a developer, worry about having to create RGB codes on your own. It's actually quite a hard thing to do. As a developer, you'll most likely work with a color generator that will give you the RGB code to use in your work. Or, just as likely, your designer will give it to you. No one will expect you to find the RGB code for the color that they want, or generate it out of your head. Now, for the third and most common way to create colors, hex codes. Hexadecimal codes are 6 characters long. They start with a hashtag and are broken up into 3 parts. The first 2 characters set the red value, the second 2 characters set the green value, and the last 2 characters set the blue value. The code mapping here is kind of like the RGB codes that we looked at a minute ago, but the values themselves are represented in a different way. Instead of a spectrum of 0 to 255, each color value combines 2 characters between 0 to 9 and then A to F, with A equaling 10, B equaling 11, and so on up to F, which equals 15. Let's translate black from RGB to hex. Remember how RGB 000 equaled black? Well, with hex codes, hashtag 000000 equals black. The underlying logic here is the same even though the character count is higher. Can you guess white? Think about it for a minute. Remember, in RGB and now in hex, black is equal to 0 values for red, green, and blue. It's really the absence of any color here. And in RGB, white is equal to the highest values of each of those 3 colors. If each hex code value ranges from 0 up to the letter F, how do you think we would represent white with a hex code? If you guessed all Fs, you are correct. That is, background is equal to hashtag FFFFF. And there you have it. Note that the casing, uppercase or lowercase here, doesn't matter when you're writing hex codes. It's usually up to the company or organization you work for to determine whether to use uppercase or lowercase hex code letters.